Thank you all for being here with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon for me as well. Thank you very much, Danai and the Stampedakis family for having me here for one more time. Thank you for staying with us this afternoon. I guess for probably 3 reasons. Either you find the technical panel very interesting, the second is that you're very hungry, and the third one is that you're waiting to win the gifts from the lottery afterwards. So for any kind of reason that you're here, thank you so much for being with us. So I'm going to do, the way that we do the third panel, we do it with an introduction to the specific, let's say, theme and topic that we're going to discuss. And today's topic is smart and green maritime technology. So before that, let's introduce ourselves. For the ones that they don't know us, although we're quite big, as you can actually see, we are not only offering services in the insurance and the tax side, but also in the advisory. On the sustainability side, we're more than 700 people working on this climate change and global sustainability. And for the shipping and ports industry, we also have great experience. We are a company that we are everywhere, as you can see. And as I said, we are not only a financial auditors, so we do have services with regards to the innovation technology, corporate governance, regulation standards, and operations. But we do have very great experience on sustainability as well. So let's talk about, and for that reason, I am actually entitled to talk about the regulatory framework of the maritime industry. Last week I was in MEPC 70, and we had some really nice and very exciting news. We finally came to an agreement after 13 years of discussion about the Ballast Water Convention. So this is it. It's going to enter into force 8th of September of 2017. There is no escape from it anymore. And of course, we're happy to announce that also the G8 revised guidelines have been approved. And we'll talk later about these new developments. On the data collection system, from IMO, we have ratified, agreed, let's say, that we'll formally adopt the mandatory data collection system for fuel consumption for the ships over 5,000 GT. The reporting is going to start from January 2019. So that's quite breakthrough also from IMO. We have not committed yet with greenhouse gas reduction, although some regions actually pressed a lot in the last week. However, we have come to an agreement to adopt one within 2018, and we'll have a strategy by 2023. The next one is global sulfur. There is availability in low sulfur fuel. That is true. There were 2 studies last week, and both of them show that there is not a problem with availability. So we cannot escape from this either. It will be applied from 1st of January 2020. With regards to the ECAs and now NECAs, there's been an extension of ECAs to NOx, so we do have the NECAs, and that will be applied for the vessels constructed from or on 1st of January 2021. Then finally we have the EEDI. There was a lot of battle last week whether we need to bring forward the phase 2, there will be to move the phase 3 and bring forward to 2022 from 2025. This is going to be a discussion for next MEPC, and there will be a discussion also if we're going to introduce a new phase. Is going to be a phase 4. So this is good news because that means that they have actually managed to get the targets there. Now, before September 2017 for the ballast water, we have another very major deadline to make sure that we are compliant with. And this comes from the EU, from another system, completely different system from IMO in terms of August 2017, where we need to have in place the monitoring plans. For the ones that they don't know, but I would be surprised if you don't know, if you are part of the operation, technical, health and safety, or even the financial department. This involves, again, for the vessels that are coming into and outside of the European ports, basically. It's for ships over 5,000 GT, regardless of their flag. And that involves, and this is the major difference from the IMO data collection system, involves only the vessels that transport or cargo or passengers for commercial purposes. So MRV basically, as you probably know, it's a first step before a market-based measure. So it's not involved in the technical department. So it also involves the operational department, the financial department, and the commercial department and the technical department. So it's a strategic decision, basically, because that will be a public data available out there to show the vessels whether are energy efficient or not. And it's not going to be anonymized, it's going to be with names, unlike with the IMO. This is how the verification cycle is done, because these are the players, basically. We have the company, the verifier, and the European Commission. And I will move very quickly, because I really like to go through the real nice discussion we're going to have with our panel, to the technology innovation, and see basically all this pressure of the regulation, how this has been involved with the technology innovation. But before we do that, let's see what's happening out there. Let's see some kind of facts and some kind of the statistics, basically, and just take a few moments here to read these slides and see that, for instance, that by 2018, more than 3 million workers globally will be supervised by robots. Okay, Tesla has announced that in 2 years we will have vehicles, autonomous vehicles, basically. You will see that 90% of the data that exists today was created in the last 2 years. So there is a lot of analytics there. And only 0.5% has been analyzed so far. And the other one interesting one is the Facebook, that if it was a country, it would be second most populous in the world, after China. So let's see a little bit of the megatrends on technology right now. The previous speakers and the panelists talked a lot about connectivity. Connectivity is everywhere, and it's in our industry as well. Robotics and artificial intelligence, we see many times that there is a lot of discussion. Martin Stopford has been in so many conferences telling about that we need to change our model because there may actually be autonomous vessels out there, okay, and may actually impact the whole traditional shipping. Then we have the Internet of Things. So we have smart buildings, manufacturers, remote monitoring, and new business opportunities. We have satellite. Probably you've been aware about the AIS. I mean, the fact that we can actually track our vessels and we'll be able to monitor and report even the energy efficiency of them sometimes. We do have mobility. I'm very glad that we have mobility, actually, because half of the people here won't be in this room. Because I can see people like from operation or technical departments and looking at their mobiles and do their day-to-day jobs. So I'm really happy that there is mobility here. Lots of analytics. So we are going to have a lot of conclusions, lots of data, lots of analytics. So it's going to create a huge competitive advantage in our industry. And we have telematics. We have sensors. We have found the ways to actually grab this data very quickly, basically, and analyze it. And then, of course, we have the security. We always talk about cybersecurity. And there are lots of regulations that are coming now because of to regulate this kind of the privacy and the data protection. So what I'm trying to say is that we operate in a global business ecosystem, and it's quite highly competitive, and we are not alone. Okay, so the consumers, the suppliers, the ports, all the chain that we use, all our stakeholders are in a different industry, but they actually are within the same global business ecosystem. So if they move forwards with these technology innovations, we need somehow to follow them, because otherwise we may actually lose the momentum and we may need to reinvent ourselves. So very quickly to say that if we decide to do that and we actually apply all these technologies, we need to be aware about the threats, and we are aware already, but we're not so sophisticated in technology. So the question is, will the regulatory framework and technology innovation form a new business model for shipping? So we have the regulation, we have the technology, and then we may actually have a green smart shipping. And at what cost? And this is why we are here today with this excellent panel of speakers to give this kind of answers. Thank you. So welcome to all. And I would like to ask you, first of all, if you agree that the green and smart shipping is important, and then, do you believe that if it's important, is it important so much that it's a very crucial thing to change the whole strategy of shipping? We are very lucky that we have representatives from the venture industry within these technologies, but we also have a representative from the shipping industry. And feel free to actually make any comment from the shipping industry, since we have only one here. Okay, so who would you like to start? George.
Yeah, I believe that green shipping and smart shipping is very important and it's crucial. It's the future of shipping industry. The smart shipping concept is seeking an efficient and comprehensive operation of the maritime transportation means through information intelligence. Green shipping is about to utilize smart shipping, definitely. So smart shipping concept enables a better business model, in my opinion. Managing a fleet of vessels involves complex processes. The ability to utilize data to obtain actionable knowledge, predictions and insights allows for continuous process improvements and optimal performance throughout the lifetime of assets. So the ability to manage all data and information from different systems on board in a safe and efficient manner, of course, creates a new level of possibility to analyze and monitor situations, critical operations, adverse conditions, and to increase performance awareness. So it's the future, it's crucial. We have to cope with this.
We have to go after it.
Yeah.
Konstantinos.
Right.
What do you think? Because you have a system which is like a technology, it's not so much like a software. So what is your opinion on this? Is it so important as it sounds? Do you think it's going to change?
Okay. Firstly, I don't think that I can reply no, it's not important, because you will kick me out of this panel. Yeah, from our perspective, we consider the smart green technology, not only the smart or the green technology. We consider the smart green technology as, let's say, a key factor for the progress of the shipping industry, for the cost optimization and the efficiency from the operation of the vessels. Having, let's say, ballast water treatment systems, it's just an expense for the vessel. We totally understand that. But at the same time, since we cannot avoid it, we need to design it in such a way in order to be smart for reducing the maintenance cost, the breakdown frequency, and of course, to increase the direct fix of every problem that may occur. And this has to do with the smart technology. Therefore, it's good to have smart technology, as you described it earlier, in an equipment, no matter what the purpose of this equipment is, in order to make it more efficient.
Okay. Khalid, what's your opinion on this? I would like to have the vendors first, and then I'm going to ask Francisco.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you. Look, I've worked in finance for the last 15 years, and I wouldn't say it's a crucial, it's essential. I'll tell you why. The maritime sector and industry is at the cusp of either to remain at the status quo or to evolve. Same thing to the car industry in the 70s and 80s in Japan. We had the computer revolution in the 90s. We had telecommunication revolution in the noughties. It's now shipping's time to actually look at itself in the face and go, right, things are not getting any better. We cannot rely on, counterparty stakeholders around us. We need to do things internally to make ourselves better and more efficient and involved. And I think being smart isn't just about having technologies, it's also the way you do things within an organization, the way you deploy labor, the way you deploy human capital, intellectual capital, etc. And we'll come into some questions later on. But green, absolutely. Green doesn't just have to be environmentally friendly. Green can be also the way that you actually approach and look at things going forward. So for me, I think, look, this forum has probably some of the key decision makers in the world within shipping today. It's up to the key decision makers to really look at themselves and say, look, we're based on pioneering entrepreneurial spirit. We need to go back to that, and let's basically evolve this industry, in my view.
It's very good that you actually bring this experience from another industry as well. It's, sometimes we forget this. We just think that we are the center of the world and not other industries are there. So it's very good that we have this input. Now it's your turn, Frank, to tell us, what is what's the opinion basically from a ship management point of view?
Well, I will comment from the ship owner and ship manager point of view. So both aspects have to do ultimately with competition. So maintaining a competitive edge is crucial in both aspects. So if we look at smart shipping, this allows a great degree of transparency and a great degree of control of what's happening on board our ships. This provides increased productivity on board the ships effectively through reduced downtime. And so this ultimately brings the ship owner a better income situation. Now looking from the green perspective, it depends on the operator in the end on how he wants to treat the green aspect of shipping. Many operators out there prefer to, let's say, take shortcuts to reap short-term savings. We look at things on a different perspective. We like to take the long-term view. And we as a company are committed to the protection of the environment, both on our activities on the ships and ashore. And as ship owners, we have definitely seen that this has given us a lot of benefit by being the preference of liner companies and oil majors.
Right. It's very interesting what you're saying now, because that gives me a very good opportunity to go to the next question, basically. We have three vendors here, and since all of your products actually address either the green and the smart technology, I would like you to tell us a little bit about your products and how these are actually, how they can be seen as green and smart, and how they can actually help the shipping industry to go forward, okay, to make this transition that we actually say. So it's just the buzzword, green and smart shipping. So shall we start with you, Khalid?
Sure, no, absolutely. I have the pleasure of working with DIABOS, one of the sponsors of this event. And one of the problems that we've been trying to solve collectively together is the cash to master problem. The cash to master scenario has its own hazards in terms of physical movement of cash, physical cash on vessels and ships. It's probably why the Somali pirate industry is so buoyant, because they're able to take a lot of cash that are on ships going around. But consequently, the insurance premium that goes with it as well. Now, I come from a background where I work with organizations to optimize their working capital. to drive cash efficiency and give control back. With the product we're developing with DIABOS, which is Paymaster, which you can take a look outside, it basically transfers cash onto a physical prepaid MasterCard. But you go, hey, that's fine. I could go to the airport and get a prepaid MasterCard. What's the big deal? No. At administration level, you can now control the distribution of those funds across your fleet at real time, whenever you need it, when you need it. So just in time. The analogy I basically draw is that the bus timetable is very useful, but when my bus is coming, it's more relevant to me. And it brings relevancy. It brings control. It brings clarity and it brings confidence, and significantly reduces the burden on the OPEX. Now, given that we're in an environment where the world economy has been limping along since 2008, since the global financial crisis, we then had the whole commodities downturn. I imagine in this room, every dollar is crucial on how and when you spend it. You now are able to have a facility to decide when you do that and have a full audit trail.
Very clear. George, tell us a little bit about your product and how that helps the shipping industry.
Well, within the engineering framework of Prisma Electronics, we consider ourselves as system providers with expertise on sensor networks, on information systems and data analytics, and our knowledge is encapsulated in the LAROS platform. Utilizing LAROS platform, that includes all the actions a maritime enterprise should take in order to establish an effective, information-driven, decision-based management model that disrupts today's operations, bringing green shipping, reduced OPEX, and proven compliance. LAROS is an open architecture platform for enabling data collection in meaningful information from a multiple of systems. It is the bridge between the vessels and their systems and the shipping companies. The performance optimization is based on measured data, not utilizing any complex algorithms that will smooth at the end the information. Today, the full knowledge of how the complete fleet, down to vessel, down to system, down even to cycle parameter, really performs is actually operating conditions is very well known thanks to LAROS. The shipping companies have an online access to see the performance data on the ships in almost real time. Any deviations in the performance can be seen and possible reasons to be discovered and actions to be taken. Prisma Electronics builds and offers a holistic solution to the maritime market, the LAROS platform, enhancing the information intelligence inside the shipping companies, making now reality the information-based decision-making and planning.
Well, that sounds very intelligent, actually. I mean, lots of things connected to each other. But I will come back to that and challenge you on this. But let's go to a very hot technology nowadays with the ballast water convention and the systems there. So, Konstantinos, try to tell us a little bit, with your system, the updates of your system, and what I really like to know from what you're going to say is that whether the new requirements that have been already adopted are covered, or you're planning to actually cover it, and if you can touch a little bit upon the, what's happening with the U.S. Coast Guard and the regulation there, because it's a big uncertainty there, and for that uncertainty to actually spend so many millions or billions in the market, it's not an easy, decision.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. First of all, ERMA we consider ourselves a solution provider with regards to ballast water or environmental protection solutions on board the vessel. ERMA was established back in 2009, and we invested in science and engineering in order to design a sound and maritime ballast water treatment system. We end up with two different systems, ERMA and ERMA Fit, and so far we are the one and only Greek manufacturer for such an equipment, and we're really proud of that because as we are trying to highlight today not only what we're doing, but we would like to highlight what Greece is capable of doing and how good the Greek shipping market is. We consider ourselves as followers to the Greek shipping miracle, and we grow through them. That's why we always anticipate your growth in order for us to grow larger and being able to develop more sound and reliable technologies, not only for ballast water, but for the shipping industry. Now, in our system, the system is a quite old system. Since its establishment, we focused on 2 stages of treatment. One is a separation and the other one is a disinfection, and disinfection is based on full flow electrolysis. That system has been type approved by IMO according to the old or existing G8 regulations. And this system, without any change, has been finished the US Coast Guard type approval testing. And our independent laboratory, National Scientific Foundation, the American IL, is planning to submit the application to the United States Coast Guard sometime before the end of this year. Now, with regards to the recent developments on the regulations, okay, as you most probably know, there are 2 different teams that they regulate ballast water. One is the US Coast Guard, and this is fixed there. We know what type of system, what type of procedure we should follow in order to type approve it according to US Coast Guard, and which are the implementation dates. So the Americans, they're more straightforward. It takes for them some time to make a decision, but after they take the decision, they stick with this decision. From the other hand side, we have the International Maritime Organization, IMO, which had until last week the implementation schedule. And there were some documents with regards to some changes. These documents were from Liberia and India, and they were touching 2 different things. One was the revision of the G8 guidelines and when this revision will come into force. And the other fact was the amendment of the B3 regulation, which is the installation dates. Thanks God for the G8 revision. We have a concrete decision. We know what the G8 revision is, and just a quick summary of it. G8 is according to the American ETV protocol, which means that systems which are undertaking or have already undertaken testing for the US Coast Guard, they will use the existing data to apply for the revised G8. Another clear decision was that the entry into force of the new G8 affects vessels which are going to install a ballast water treatment system from 28th of September of 2020 and onwards, which means that systems already equipped, vessels already equipped with the ballast water treatment systems, or they're planning to be equipped with ballast water treatment systems until 2020, they can use the existing G8 guidelines. So this grandfathering that a couple of years ago we started discussing with IMO, that happened, and this is a good solution, and it's a practical solution. Now, with regards to the implementation schedule, unfortunately, IMO hasn't made a conclusion. There was a lot of debate during the working group. None of the 2 solutions from Liberia or India were in favor or were against. Therefore, the chairman of MEPC decided to bring this into MEPC 71, which starts a really lengthy process, because procedural, in order an amendment to take place, first of all, the convention should come into force, which is coming in September of 2017. Then the parties of the convention should vote for this amendment, which means in MEPC 72, which is in March of 2018, and then it takes another 12 to 18 months following the tacit acceptance and the circular of the amendment. So it takes another 1 year to 1.5 years from the voting of the amendment to come into force, which means that we may end up in a situation where vessels should comply with D2 standards from September 2017 and onwards, but a pending amendment should stay there until 2019. So This is this area, this time period between September of 2017 and 2019 is a gray area, and we really hope for a concrete solution in order for us to plan and for ship owners to plan as well.
Well, too many deadlines and too much uncertainty again. I mean, for these 2 years, the gray period, we hope that the next MEPC is going to address it because, as you well said, there are still some pending issues there. But I think the question is that, if I'm a ship manager or a ship owner and I want to, make a decision, shall I do it now or shall I wait again? And in that, I would like to, sort of challenge now Francisco a little bit and say, what is your strategy on this, and how do you deal with this uncertainty of this specific, let's say, ballast water convention here? I mean, I guess you're happy that at least it's been ratified.
Well, yes. Me personally, previously working for the ship owning arm of Bernhard Schulte and now working for the ship management arm, I've been dealing with ballast water treatment in and out for the last 3 or 4 years, I think. And always on working out paths to possible postponement of implementation as far as possible, because Bernhard Schulte was quite proactive, actually, with regards to installation of ballast water treatment systems through the first series of new buildings where this was required. I think delivery 2012 onwards, something like this. I always forget the deadlines, keep shifting. But as well as with the retrofit project that we did about 3 years ago, in all cases, just because the regulation was not ratified, this was basically equipment that just suffered devaluation at the end of the day without having been used properly. And so far, I mean, and this is why I'm very happy about the grandfathering clause that you just mentioned. Otherwise, this would have been a wasted investment altogether. So while we as an owner are quite proactive, we tend to, when it comes to our clients, ship management clients, we tend to give a more realistic approach to strict to standards as closely as possible while delaying investment as far as possible. And this is once again possible through now detaching, for example, the IOPP certificate renewal from docking and then obtaining a 5-year delay from the US Coast Guard. So this is a never-ending story in some cases, which yes, it's complication, it's bureaucratic, but if you can save a dry dock somewhere along the way or avoid installing equipment 5 years earlier than you have to, then of course you're going to do it.
Okay. George, you mentioned and you described your system quite well. My question is, is it easy for a ship owner to actually, adopt this concept that you just described?
I believe not. I believe not. Legacy operated and slimline shipping companies, they are not ready to accept smart shipping or even green shipping. I agree with that. It's hard. It's hard to change yourself. It's hard to rely your decision on reliable data or the processing of this data. So you have first to realize that we are entering into a new era of shipping in the shipping industry, and then start preparing ourselves with the information technology that already exists and other industries already utilize this technology. Also, the inertia inside shipping companies. Yes, in a shipping company, they want to transform the way they operate. There is an inertia also inside the company that it's a break, refrains this activity. Things are hard and difficult.
Yes. Well, I'm going to pass now the question to Khalid, actually, because you've been quite many years now in this market, and your solution is quite revolutionized, I would say, by that time. So what was the response And what's the response now? And I'm pretty sure that you also cover some kind of regulation. So was it because of the regulation, or it was because there was a need?
Yeah, I think with all these things, there's always a need. There's a pain point that needs to be addressed. And again, shipping being or maritime, as the industry it is, it's very set in a very prescribed way. Things have worked for many, many years. So change to this industry doesn't come very easy. It's a lot of inertia to get things done. However, I come back to the case of relevancy and making it tangible. If you can demonstrate material savings, significant material savings, where you can actually take off 20% of your operating expenditure and give it back to do other things, that then becomes an interesting conversation. The mechanism and the actual delivery is academic. That's just a product that helps you get there. But just the why do I need to do this, and not the what that needs to be done. And I think working with DIABOS, I learned, and I've looked after shipping clients for many years from my career as a bank. They are some of the most innovative and entrepreneurial people I've ever met. But when you ask them to fundamentally look at something different that's been done for a long, long time, there seems to be some kind of mental block. That mental block helps to get removed by actually going back to the basic fundamentals of actually asking them, do you know where your cash is? Do you know when to use your cash? And do you know you need to deploy your cash in the right places? So from my perspective, I think what we've been trying to do within the industry, some maybe call it revolutionary, some maybe call it different. I basically give it simply, I'm giving control back to the companies. 20 years ago, to watch my TV program, I had to run home because it was scheduled for me at a certain time, and if I missed it, I missed it. Today, I can program my Skybox and watch it whenever I want to. It's on demand. What this product gives you is on-demand capability. You now choose and decide when you want to use it, how you want to use it, and why you want to use it. That brings relevancy, and that brings adoption.
Right. I remember you mentioned that there are new projects coming in DIABOS now to cover other needs as well.
That's right, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure how familiar this forum is, but within the finance industry, there's been a bit of a, I wouldn't say a bit of a revolution, more of an evolution actually, the adoption of fintech. And one of the concepts that have come out is blockchain. Now, blockchain is all around instantaneous data management and settlement. Shipping is also an industry that's extremely time sensitive. Believe me, I've worked with treasurers and CFO, and my ears have been, I'm surprised I've still got ears, actually, to be honest with you, in terms of the frustration that they've brought. But actually giving a capability where you can settle real time within a matter of minutes to port agents, to ship owners, to technical managers, again, brings material and tangible benefit, I believe, to the actual shipping community and the maritime industry. But its application isn't just financial. Smart contracts, the ability to exchange information within a closed loop of parties instantaneously, drives operational efficiency and drives efficiency within the organizations, but as you put it, through the whole ecosystem that you presented earlier. So blockchain has fundamentally been monopolized by the finance industry. No. I've actually adopted it and started to use it within charities, so funds can be dispersed quickly and adequately in disaster relief areas. There's no reason why finance should have monopoly on innovative products within finance. They should be deployed within industry where this is the real economy. This is where wealth is generated. I worked in an industry where I moved people's and companies' wealth. Right? So it's a difference. So I think blockchain is something that should be on the radar for the next 18 months at least within this industry.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right to say that we need to take the other examples and sort of deploy in our industry. Also because then I said that, particularly in Greece, we are, 0.15% that controls 25%, that controls the 90% of the world trade. Okay, so that makes us even more responsible, basically, within this ecosystem. Now, Francisco, I would like to ask you, we know what you do with regards to ballast water treatment. Can you tell us a little bit what you actually do as a company with regards to the performance management?
Well,
And that's one thing.
Yeah,
So what
okay.
do you do now? And what do you think ideally, after all these regulations and after what we have discussed here, that the necessary steps to improve the existing, let's say, performance monitoring?
okay. We are still in a stage where I would say that is pretty much on par with the majority of good standard shipping companies. So we are still based on manual reporting. We're still on the bigger level. We are still based on noon reporting, of course. This is a legacy matter, which is quite difficult to remove, of course. But what we are doing now is we are looking into moving towards telemetry. So employing systems like LAROS is involved in, for example. So of course, we are in a very advantageous position where we have our own IT software company. So we are on our own enterprise software, and we can adapt it accordingly to our needs. So we are currently running a pilot project, and it's going to be expanding for the next for the next year, I would say. And based on that, we will see where we go from there. But I think that telemetry is a one-way street, I predict a widespread implementation within the next 2 or 3 years. Of course, this is for the owned fleet. Convincing third-party owners to go through the investment, again, they need to see material benefits, as we discussed before. But coming back to what I mentioned before, if you have a greater control of what is happening on board, this means that you can prevent please correct me where I'm wrong. Yeah. So you can, first of all, prevent any catastrophic failures. This goes without saying. Then, of course, by optimizing your maintenance intervals where required and only when required, you can reduce your OPEX. And as a result, you can reduce breakdowns, which reduce your off-hire, increase your reliability and your vessel availability. As a result, increases your income situation. So this is where we're heading as an industry in total, and this is where BSM will be heading over the next few years.
That means that that's very, very clear, and I think this is the only way to go, basically. I mean, you're very lucky that you do have your own IT departments, and it's a big company. But for the majority of the ship management companies or ship owning companies, it's not the case, unfortunately. So I hope after this panel they will be able to come up, to have a more concrete, let's say, idea of where things are going. All these nice benefits, they actually, as I showed to my slide earlier, they come with threats and some risks as well. And although I really like that you actually step and talk about your technology, I would like you to challenge you a little bit and tell us a little bit about the threats and the risks within the smart shipping and the digitization that we just actually described right now. Khalid,
yeah, sure. I think, and I don't make any excuses for saying that, but I would say the threat to actually adoption is sitting in this room. It's all of you here. It's whether you want to do it or not. You are on you're on the cusp of basically evolving your industry. You need to change the way you look at things. You don't want to become Kodak. 20 years ago, Kodak owned 88% of the film market, and now it's actually defunct because they discovered digital film technology, and so were so scared of the fixed film business, they stuck it in the basement, and it died. Nokia, they refused to basically have touchscreens on their phones. Everyone would have buttons. BlackBerry. So history has taught us through industry that in order to basically survive, in order to become relevant, you need to evolve over time. When I came to this forum last night, I was told that probably 60 to 70 of the world's decision makers are actually sitting in this room that basically have, not to coin a phrase, their hand on the rudder to direct where this vessel is going. So fundamentally, the biggest challenge I see is you. You will need to culturally change. You need to adopt and look at different ways of doing things. The status quo that worked for so long was okay, but it's not going to get you to the place you want to be. The paradigm or the alternative, keep going. What will happen? Consolidation, high costs, inefficiency. That's something that's happened to the car industry. You have examples in front of you. The beauty of this industry and this sector is you have seen all the other industries in front of you and what they've done wrong. Don't make the same mistakes as them.
Thank you. Very good statement, actually, Khalid, and thank you for this. Konstantinos, what do you think?
Okay, yeah, I cannot agree more than with Khalid. Yeah, he said that. In our product, okay, if it's green, yes, it is. That goes without saying. Okay, it has been type approved by IMO, US Coast Guard, more testing. So yes, it is green and it serves a green purpose. And I'm pretty sure that there are competitors. They're doing their job as good as ERMA first does. There's no doubt about it. So the end result is the same. Nice treated water. What we're trying to differentiate ourselves is to make it smart, as we said. And the risk of making smart goes with the fact that if something goes wrong, this will be published. This will go outside the vessel. And this is, again, a matter of mentality. We have seen in hundreds of installations that we have so far, whatever is related to data downloading, expose the operators that they did something wrong, this is a red flag. The crew does not want that. Now, in cooperation with LAROS, okay, we have started working on the next stage and make it even smarter, which means that with the push of a button, we can realize how good or bad the system is operating, if it's in a good maintenance position or not, to be able to maintain it remotely. And we publish this questionnaire to operators of our system. The company office, the technical office, said, yeah, okay, we're going to do it. That's a good idea. But when we share this with the crew, all of them said no, because if something goes wrong, we need to solve it by ourselves. So that's a matter of mentality. The same goes with sampling. ERMA First has invested a lot of money on having a sampling device and online sampling and share these sampling results with the superintendent of the vessel almost real time. This requires more time for the operators to digest it, because they say, okay, it's good to know that there's something wrong, but if we know it, we have to report it. We have to report it to the port that we're going to call. We have to report it to the Hellenic Coast Guard, the US Coast Guard, name it. So sometimes it's better not to know it. Now, this is not the way to move forward. I understand their concern, but again, it's a matter of mentality. So I'm concluding that the biggest risk is the mentality change. Either we're ready to accept it or not.
Very interesting, because that's another human element, basically. I was expecting, like, the cyber security, the privacy, all these things, but I think we are the ones that delay everything, okay, and we're going to shoot ourselves in faith, basically, if we don't. We may actually miss the train, as we say in Greece, and we don't want that to happen. George?
I want to say, okay, if you want to optimize a key performance parameter, you have to measure it first, definitely. But then comes another type of threat, the threat that the data and the data processing imposes themselves. If you measure data from unreliable sources with unreliable means, then at the end of the day, you end up with the wrong decision. You have things other than reality. And you based your decisions in that wrong conclusions. That's a threat. So you have to deal with large amounts of data from different sources and in different formats. Additionally, you cannot be sure about their accuracy. You must be very, very careful. Reliable data, relevant data is the essence in order to be smart. Another threat is the variety of technologies to process this data. Nowadays, we are bombarding about Internet of Things, maybe Internet of Ships, and cloud computing, etc. This variety of technologies must be suitable for your company, for the way of doing things, in order to provide you with actionable knowledge. I wanted to emphasize on that. It's an important issue.
Thank you, George. Francisco, is you that, you meaning representing the shipping industry, or we as a shipping industry, the problem, basically, or is it the technology, the problem that...
No, I'm an engineer, so I'll never say that technology is a problem.
Yep, same.
So it's definitely psychological barriers that we're facing, and it's not just, excuse me, in the shipping companies themselves, but even if you go on board the ships, you see the psychological barriers from the manufacturers themselves. So as anyone who's been involved in new building can tell you, you have a variety of manufacturers installing different systems with different architectures, and they're unwilling to share information between them. So this creates a lot of information islands and a job a lot harder now, as LAROS will be able to attest as well. So I think that, that moving forward, of course, this will change. I don't think there is a choice. When you're talking about Internet of Things on board the ships, I don't think it will go to the extremes of internet-connected fridges, for example, but surely equipment talking to each other, which is the essence of it. And the risks we see there mainly have to do with loss of physical and intellectual property. Intellectual property is mainly an issue for the manufacturers, I would say. But in some cases, a lot of ship owners are a little bit worried about their data, which is fully understandable. Sometimes you have to handle sensitive data, for example, with regards to fuel consumption. No one wants their fuel consumption data to be to end up in the wrong hands, so to say, especially, yeah. So I would say that with the physical, with regards to physical damages, physical property, imagine what happens if you have a hacked automated container terminal with all the container handling cranes running around in whatever random manner they will. So,
or even autonomous vessels.
Exactly, exactly. So, as such, any ship management company can only plan ahead. And in this regard, shipping, by being so conservative, is a little bit lucky because we are seeing the problems that are currently faced by the land-based industry, and we are 10 years behind, maybe. So we have a lot of time to implement things in a more correct and measured manner, is what I think. And I mean, we, as a company, we can only plan ahead in terms of contingency planning through our management system. And as I said, we have our IT company, so cybersecurity is handled in this regard. And whatever changes need to be handled by changing the design of the ship proactively at the new building stage is also being handled internally through our new building outfit.
Right. I would like to open the question, if I can, can I open the question in the audience? Because I know that we have some operations managers here or ship management companies here. Can someone stand up and actually share with us the opinion whether it's our industry and the mentality that we have, our culture, the fact that we don't go ahead with the digitization just like the other industries do. Can somebody wants to comment from the audience? Yes. Yes, please.
I wish to thank all the panel. They gave good speeches, but calling for smart and green ships means modern or converted ships. See? All these need special modern equipment, sometimes very complicated, and people on board has to run those things. What about the training? Do the crews, the operators have the proper training to run this? Because when you are in the ocean and something does not work, it's a real problem for the containers, for the cargo, for the crew. What about training then? Are the countries prepared to improve, or can the companies producing this new and modern machinery or devices show the people who goes on board to operate? This is my question. Thank you.
Yes.
George.
Yes. I strongly believe that we, in 50 years from now, in 100 years from now, we will still rely on the human element on board our vessels. We need the human element trained regardless of what modern systems with information technology we will have on board. The humans are the ones who they will take care of data collection, and the humans ashore will be the ones that they will evaluate the data. No computer is so clever to take decisions for a shipping company, and most important, in adverse conditions on board the vessel. Training is an absolute necessity. Automation helps also.
So what happened to this? Now if I buy a vessel, I have a modern vessel and cannot find the crew to train. Have you been on board on a tanker of 250,000 tons when she is doing astern?
No.
I believe that you are an electronic man, okay? And,
No, but I was on board
anyhow,
on a vessel.
When you make astern, the scanner of the radar few times falls down. And it's not the electronic item. It is the man who fixed that one. He's a technician. Did not put the proper strengthening on the support. That is what I say. Thank you.
If I can say though, I think the crew actually has mobile phones and smartphones. Do they know how to operate this? I guess that technology, the human element can actually pick up technology so quickly sometimes, and I think that shouldn't be such a huge barrier for us, even for this crew that you just basically mentioned. And
do you mind if I?
So if
Look, sir, I have a lot of sympathy with you because you're at the sharp end of your industry. You see it day to day, and everything we speak about, practically you have to implement in your day-to-day operations. But I go back to saying that this is one of the industries that are both entrepreneurial and pioneering. You need to go back to those roots. Yes, it's not going to be easy in the short term. Any significant change that drives any material value always has a degree of pain associated with it. 25 years ago in the UK, you could drive 2 leaded on petrol, 4 leaded and diesel. Today, there's no car that drives on unleaded petrol at all. Why? The oil companies, the car manufacturers, the governments all get together collectively because they saw the greater good in protecting the environment and also driving more efficiencies in the vehicles that they produce today. So it can be done. Automotive industry is an industry that's been backward for so many years, but yet all the stakeholders came together. The key here is that you're not on your own. You need help. You need the stakeholders around you to train, to guide, to discount, to help, to educate. It shouldn't be here you go, here's a box, get on and do it. No, nothing will work. Look at the car industry. That's exactly what they did.
If I can
Yes,
also add, I would also say that We know very well the issue of lack of training of crews that you mentioned, but if you have the tools on board that will be able to give you a better picture ashore about what is happening on board, you'll better be able to guide the crew in any case. So the technology that we're talking about here is not about unmanned operation. It's not about greater degree of automation removing the human element. It's about greater control that can allow you to make more informed decisions on the longer scheme of things. So, of course, as you said, there's an investment involved, and the investment always needs to make sense. So you will not take a 25-year-old bulk carrier and start installing a system like this. You can't. It won't make sense. But it might make sense to do it on a very isolated system on board, because it will pay off, the investment will pay off after 2 or 3 years. Likewise, if you look at a new building ship and you know that this ship is going to be in the water for the next 25 or 30 years, then you definitely want to make it as future-proof as possible. So again, greater degree of control and transparency is what is required here. Yeah.
My name is Mauro Renaldi. I'm the former managing director of the ships and now honorary consul of Italy. I think this is the key point, is the crew, absolutely. Regarding the mentality, this will change, the technology change, the mentality will change. The point is, the crew belonging to who? This is the point, because the ship owner invests in the crew. I think everybody here in Greece, they are ready to invest on crew. But the crew belonging to who? Because then the ship is belonging to the owner. So the ship owner invests in the ship's technology. So I think one of the starting points is to secure that the crew belonging to the ship owner. So to change the concept of crew contract, to say the crew contract will be for the ship owning company, so a crew member, he cannot go away so easily. So I think the ship owner will be ready to invest in the human resource. That has to be. So this is probably the step up for this. Thank you.
It sounds like we need to have a smart contracts and a smart crew.
Absolutely.
Okay, in order to have a smart shipping. I would like to end this panel, then we can ask questions to the panelists here. I would like to have your opinion on the 3 main technologies that will shape the future of the maritime industry within the next 10 years. So, Khalid, can we just start from you?
Yeah, I think, look, I mentioned one of them, which was blockchain. I think digitization, if I can actually say the word properly, and the phenomenon they call big data, the ability to have the right data, knowing what to do with it, and making it relevant, to make it much more enhanced in your decision-making on a day-to-day basis would be my top 3.
Thank you. Kostas?
Okay. Definitely I agree with the big data. That's an important thing, and I'm glad to see companies that they're starting to implement this, or developers to develop a solution. The second thing, it's indirect with the operation of the vessel, and it may sound a bit stupid, but I feel like the use of drones in survey of vessels can be really useful. We have seen some examples lately that a drone inspected a tank, which saves a lot of money and time from the ship owner. So instead of having scaffolders or ropes hanging in the tank, you have the nice drone do the job, takes nice videos and pictures, which actually can see more than one surveyors, not only the one who was doing the survey. And the third one, this is the opinion of my partner, Helena, who is not here, okay, which we miss her, don't we? Okay. This is battery-fueled vessels.
Okay.
this is something that most probably will not take...
Electric vessels.
Yeah. This will not be feasible the next 10 years, but maybe 20 years. It's something that we would like to see.
Or a hybrid, maybe. Yes?
Yeah.
So we can start with a hybrid and then it become... Okay, thank you. And I guess predictive analytics, because
first you have to become a hybrid and then to be powered by batteries, definitely.
Francisco?
I have to stay with the big data, of course, but I would say mostly with regards, not so much with regards to data gathering and transmission, because this is already done. I would say with regards to its analysis, because if you start involving machine learning, for example, and you start talking about predicted maintenance, and you start moving into this direction, afterwards I would say certain aspects of autonomous navigation and unmanned operation, going outside the engine room, of course, and which is going to be a big legal discussion, of course, more than anything, I think. And finally, I would say chemistry and materials, actually, and this is where smart and green meet. So even looking at anti-fouling technologies or structural materials in some cases,
Like smart building. On the construction side as well? Those
on the
materials?
structural side as well, yes, sure. Yes.
Okay. Interesting to hear the autonomous from the ship management and ship owning side.
You have to be ready for it.
Yes.
I don't think that in the next 10 years we'll have a ship owner coming up to us and saying, here's our autonomous ship, please take care of it. But you still have to make the contingency planning to see what is required from corporate perspective to be able to accommodate this need in the future.
Yeah, very interesting. George?
Yes, I fully agree. Information intelligence technologies are going to prevail for the coming 10 years, not only with big data, but with machine-to-machine communications, and of course, advanced analytics. I fully agree with that. That will permit to enter into predictive maintenance or on-condition maintenance that is reducing the cost, etc., etc. I think that also other, let's say, technologies are going to help the shipping industry. One of the most promising technologies, in my opinion, is the air lubricating vessels. We lubricate with air the whole of vessels, and that will reduce the skin friction significantly. And then we will have better efficiency, better performance, greening to the vessels.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I hope now you're very smart and ready to go for a smart shipping. Do you have any time for questions from the audience?
If there is, I think that it was the first year that we did not have any coffee break, as you understood. And at this point, we would like to say that we still have a full room of more than 300 people, which has happened for first time in Navigator Forum.